Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Hello there, ladies and gents. Are you ready to talk? Are you ready or not? Well, it doesn't matter if you're ready or not because I'm ready to talk. I am Malcolm Tent, current bass player of the almighty ANTiSEEN, Chief Executive Officer of TPOS Productions, long-standing record label based in Danbury, Connecticut. And I am here to present my third in a series of history lessons relating to my long, intertwined, labyrinthine, indescribably delicious relationship with the band ANTiSEEN, which has been going on since 1984, and from which I have progressed, evolved, devolved, degenerated, yea, ascended the very heights from fan to member of the band. It's quite the fanboy's journey, let me tell you. It's the kind of thing that one can only dream about, let alone live. It's pretty damn cool. So, yeah, this whole thing started because unimpeachable President for Life Jeff Clayton started doing his own series of live webcasts here on Facebook talking about the history of the band. And since I'm one to jump on any bandwagon I possibly could, I suggested to the boss that, well, maybe I could do a series as well, you know, and tell the tale as I saw it, you know, running in parallel as the fan, label guy, eventual member, to his story. And he said, yeah, he gave it the green light. And so that's what I've been doing now for the past several weeks. I had this idea that I could just go on once and tell the whole story, like maybe in about a half hour or so, and, you know, it'd be one and done and a lot of fun. But the first time I went on, goddamn, I was on for 75 minutes, and I only got from the very beginning up until the point when I released my first ANTiSEEN record, which was the WXCI live radio broadcast. And you can see that it's archived here on the ANTiSEEN page. It's on my personal page. It's on Facebook forever. So yeah, 75 minutes to tell only one small part of the story made me realize that maybe, as far as this goes, I was going to pull up a chair and sit down at the table for supper. So here we go. I've broken it down into neat chronological chunks. And at the rate we're going, it looks like it's going to be a 6-part miniseries, maybe even 7, if the tail goes on long enough. Excuse me. I was originally going to tackle 2 releases today, but I realized that of the 2 releases, like, each one of them has a really interesting and long, detailed story. The one I'm not going to tackle today, that I was going to, is this one right here. So I dip into my show and tell pile here. The one that I was going to tackle as part of today's show was the G.G. Allin and the Carolina Shit Kickers 7-inch. I was going to talk about that one today, but I'm going to talk about this one next week. This is coming up next week. And a lot of stories behind this one. It's going to inevitably and invariably involve G.G. himself and one of my G.G. Allin stories. I just got to say right now, I don't have nearly as many good G.G. stories as Jeff Clayton does, and the ones that I have, I'm sure, aren't nearly as good. But I got a couple. And I'll be telling one of them next week in conjunction with my tale of the creation of this record. But that's next week. We got a lot going on now. Here and now, because that's where we all are. We're here, we're now. We don't live in the past. We can talk about it, we can think about it, but we don't live there. And we're not needlessly projecting ourselves into the future. Yes, the future is important because that's where all of our destinies lie. But we're here now. So what we're going to talk about right here, right now, right now is, you guessed it, because I told you, Eat More Possum. An album that turns up frequently on people's lists of favorite ANTiSEEN albums. I mean, this is like, I don't even know how you're supposed to choose a favorite. I think it's not even possible, really. But this one comes up regularly. A lot of people really like this album. And I'm very happy and very proud to have been and to still be a part of the history of the creation of this album. So we're going to talk about that one after I take a little swig here from my trademark 128-ounce plastic jug of Walta. So just to give you the time frame and to give you just a little bit of background and a little bit of context as to how and where this is happening, this would be the late 1990s. And if you guys saw my broadcast last week, I talked at length about how the late 1990s were a very exciting time. The music industry was rip-roaring. Bands were all over the place. Alternative rock and grunge rock were totally pulling this whole train of bands and music because everybody now was in a band or was going to see bands or was putting out records. There was just tons and tons of great music coming out. It was really easy. Probably the easiest time in my entire history to be in a band, to release records, to be a fan of music. And so it's the early 90s. ANTiSEEN is in a veritable blizzard of activity. Jeff Clayton was talking about that on his last broadcast. And I was helping put out a lot of project bands relating to ANTiSEEN. Mad Brother Ward, Rawhead, Jeff Leppard. How could I have possibly forgotten Jeff Leppard? And of course the ANTiSEEN Blue Green Gods split, which is where we left off last week. So now here we are. It's late 93. Things are very, very exciting. And the scene is set as it was on my last part of the story. I'm behind the counter at my record store, Trash American Style in Danbury, Connecticut, just minding my own business, wondering what the hell's going to happen next, when, as it did so often, the phone rang, and I picked it up. I said, "Trash." The voice on the other end said, "Is Jeff Clayton." I said, "Hello, Jeff Clayton. What do you want to release today?" He said, "We have an album. It's called Eat More Possum. We want you to release it on vinyl in the United States of America." I said, "Okay. Done." Now, the question is, why me? For God's sake, why me? In late 93, why would I get the call? Well, I think because, yeah, I've already got this long history with the band and I've already released, 5, 6 items by them. But why would I be called upon to release the vinyl of Eat More Possum in the USA? I'm not 100% sure of that. I think Jeff, and this is really cool about Jeff doing his broadcasts every Tuesday and Friday, and me doing mine every Sunday. At this point right now, our stories have almost equally converged. I'm pretty sure Jeff's going to be talking about Eat More Possum on Tuesday. And if I didn't say Tuesday earlier, I'm sorry, it's definitely Tuesday and Friday. On Tuesday, I'm pretty sure Jeff's going to be talking about Eat More Possum. So you're going to hear his side of the story on Tuesday, and you get to hear my side of the story today. So whatever gaps I don't know about, he's going to fill in, and vice versa. So by the end of the day, Tuesday, you guys are going to know everything you ever wanted to know about Eat More Possum and what it was like to be ANTiSEEN in the early 90s and how exciting it was and productive it was and just overall destructo it was. Okay, so Eat More Possum is at this point the brand new ANTiSEEN album. Southern Hostility has already been out for over a year, I believe. It came out on Zuma in Europe and Rave in the US. For whatever reason, I don't know, Rave is not in the picture anymore. Zuma still is. Zuma's going to release Eat More Possum on CD in Europe, but not on vinyl in the States. Okay? So the regular CD is going to come out in Europe on Zuma, but there's no projected vinyl for the States. Zuma, I should say, was also going to do the CD in the States in conjunction with a label called Safe House. So the CD rights are already in the bag. That's going to happen on CD, worldwide release through Zuma over there, Zuma/Safe House over here. My guess as to why Zuma or Safe House wasn't going to do a vinyl release is that even though the music industry was really happening, really exciting, and there was just tons and tons of bands and releases and alternative rock and all that, this was when the major labels had declared unilateral war on vinyl. The major labels were determined to stamp out vinyl as a format for one reason and one reason only. The reason being that they made somewhere, I'm just guessing, but somewhere around 10 times more profit off of CDs than they made on vinyl. Now, mind you, these fucking major labels still made money off of vinyl. I mean, they made plenty of money off of vinyl. No major label ever lost money on vinyl, but they just didn't make as much money on vinyl as they did on CDs. So they really went out of their way to stamp out vinyl as a medium, even though time has borne out again and again that vinyl is a superior format overall. You know, at these days, there's nothing particularly wrong with CDs. I mean, I release CDs myself. There are plenty of labels that release CDs. You know, it's okay. But at the time, CDs were being sold as the perfect format, and therefore the only format that you would be allowed to buy. So the majors just stopped making vinyl. You know, or I should say they phased vinyl up by making it flimsier and more low quality as time went on. And they raised the price on vinyl as time went on. And then they stopped accepting returns from people who had unsold vinyl stock. And eventually, they just stopped entirely. They really, really were not into vinyl because it just didn't make as much money as CDs. So my guess is that, and this is where it gets a little bit convoluted, Zuma had a U.S. distribution deal through this label, Safe House. Safe House had a distribution deal in the U.S. through Caroline. Caroline is owned by Virgin. Virgin is a major. So my guess is that the lack of vinyl just kind of fit into this business model that was in place at the time where vinyl was verboten. They weren't going to do it. No vinyl. CD only. Cassette only. Ugh. Pisses me off just to think about it. Anyway, that's why I got the call. Because Jeff Clayton and ANTiSEEN wanted to release Eat More Possum on vinyl. And I love vinyl. I'm all about it. Love it. And this was the early 90s. Business was good. I was able to pretty much afford to release just about anything I wanted at this time period. It was a unique and completely, to use the current phrase, unprecedented time. So I get the call from Clayton. He wants to do Eat More Possum on vinyl. 1,000 copies. I say, yes, let's do it. Hold that thought. Pregnant pause here while I liquid up. Fuel for the story, gang. So, the wheels are set in motion. A short while later, I get a package from Jeff Clayton. It has in it an actual Zuma pressing of Eat More Possum. And you can see the Zuma pressing. I guess I didn't mention before, but they did do vinyl in Europe. And they did it on really good red vinyl. And as I look at it, I see it's got a Safe House logo on it too. So I really wonder what the deal is behind that. Good question. Maybe Jeff can fill in the gaps on that, because I really don't know what the deal is behind that. So yes, vinyl in Europe, not in the US. Now we're all on the same page. See, I told you this was going to be a twisted, convoluted story. So Clayton sends me a copy of the album as it came out in Europe. A letter detailing specifications for how he wants it to be done. which you'll notice is written on the back of an ANTiSEEN flyer from a gig in Austin, Texas. Pretty good flyer, huh? And along with it, a master DAT tape. If anybody out there remembers DAT, you're at least as old as I am. DAT was, at that time, like the industry standard for mastering. It was digital audio tape. It was a tape, an actual tape, but the signal on it was digital. It was kind of like the version, it was like a tape version of a CD. And so this was the way things were pretty much done back then. You can't play a DAT tape now. I mean, I'm sure you can if you try hard enough and somehow you find a machine that'll actually play one of these things anymore. But you really can't do much with DAT anymore. That was not improper English. That was D-A-T, DAT. So he sent me all that, list of instructions, how I wanted it done, and we're going to do it. Now, the dude from Zuma, I don't remember his name. The dude from Zuma, from my perspective, was totally cool. You know, as far as I know and as far as I can tell, he did the job in Europe. You know, he got it out in Europe, CD record. It was just his lack of distribution for vinyl or lack of desire to put it out on vinyl in the States that got me involved. But the dude was completely on board with it. He actually sent me 700 copies of the album cover. He sent me 700 copies of the cover, empty covers, that I could use on the TPOS pressing, which was really above and beyond the call of duty for this guy. He sent them at his own expense even. Like I didn't pay for those covers. He just shipped them to me on goodwill. And the fact that he sent 700 copies kind of gets back to something I was talking about last week, about how when you press a record, no matter how hard you try, nothing adds up. Nothing adds up. You order 1,000 records, you get 980. You order 1,000 covers, and apparently in this guy's case, he got 1,700. You know, there's like no reason in the world why, logically, you would end up with 700 extra empty album covers. But that's just the way it is. There's always an offset here or there. So that's why I was able to get 700 Zuma album covers to do this album with. Which, of course, left an extra 300 records unaccounted for because we were going to press 1,000. So, in order to make those 300 special, the idea came about that we would do 700 on black vinyl, which would go into the Zuma album cover, and then 300 on a color vinyl, which would go into a hand-screened cover, a silk-screened, unique cover. And I seem to remember that I suggested purple because at the time, ANTiSEEN was trying to get a record done in every single color possible, in every single format possible. Like anything you could possibly do with vinyl, ANTiSEEN wanted to do. And I'm pretty sure that policy is still in place. There's a lot of brainstorming going on how to do the next ANTiSEEN record in a way that has never been done before. And we do have ideas, by the way. So if I recall correctly, at the time, purple was a color that hadn't been done yet. So silkscreen cover, purple vinyl, 300 of those, 700 of these, you got your 1,000. Great. Wonderful. So the orders were sent out to the pressing plant to start pressing. I got my acolyte, a guy named Jason Wood, who might be out there watching right now. Hello, Jay Wood. To sit down in the fabled back room of Trash American Style one day with a roll of stickers. I'm hoping you guys can see this and it makes sense. In order to make the Zuma album covers usable, I had these stickers printed in the exact same size and configuration as the Zuma logo, and just stickered over the Zuma logo with the TPOS logo and contact information. So Jay Wood sat there and stickered all these covers one at a time. And in fact, he was at our recent show in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and my main man, Zach Hembry, had one of these. And I was able to say, Zach Hembry, meet the guy who put the sticker on this cover. That was pretty cool. So we stickered them all. So now the Zuma record is the TPOS record. Stage is set. Eventually all the vinyl shows up, the black vinyl and the purple vinyl. And Jay Wood stuffed the covers, I stuffed the covers. Now it's time to address the issue of the 300 on purple vinyl. And the silk screened cover. Man, this has been a bone of contention for almost 30 years now. And I had to sit down and really think over the events as they went down. Because it was so unpleasant, I blocked it out of my mind for a long time. But here it is. This is exactly how the silkscreen cover came about. Jeff Clayton sent me 300 beautiful, pristine, white album jackets that we were going to silk screen the design on. And I came up with an alternate design for the cover, which was based around the insert for the album. Let's see if we can show you one of these. Wherever the insert may be. I know I've got one here somewhere. Oh, there you go. It's based on the insert. Voila. Actually, duh, I've got the actual paste up right here. It's going to be based on the insert. And the silk screen was going to be on these white covers. So this dude who used to work for me in my mailroom had recently acquired a silkscreen press. And he was just down the road from where I lived, like literally a couple blocks away. I thought, fantastic. We'll keep this in the family. We'll silkscreen the covers right here in Danbury using the guy who works for me. Don't have to send away. No muss, no fuss. It'll be right here, right now. The problem is this guy had just, like literally just gotten this silkscreen press and was still learning how to use it. He hadn't doped out all the finesses required to do a silkscreen correctly. I think that at this point he might have done a couple of t-shirts. He'd never done an album cover before. This was completely new. He had never done an album cover. So, you know, I'd never done an album cover using a silkscreen, so, you know, nobody knows what's going on. This is like an entire learning process for everybody. So I bring him the covers. He sets up the press. And the way that you did it was there was this sort of like a panel thing. And in order to make the cover stick to the panel, because it was basically vertical, if I recall correctly, to stick the cover to the panel, you had to put this adhesive on the record cover. And so when he did this, he like kind of slopped the stuff on, stuck it to the panel, silk screened the front, took the cover off, and there's this big glob of goo on the back of the cover. And it wouldn't come off, and you couldn't silk screen over it. And so what you had was a white, like a beautiful white album cover with the front printed and a big glob of shit on the back. And you couldn't use them. There's nothing you could do with them. So it's like, okay, we got a problem. You know, because the vinyl's already in hand. There's a release date. Distributors are lined up. You know, mail orders lined up. Obviously, Jeff wants his copies. You know, we got to get this thing on the market. So we're on a deadline. And we've got the prospect of having these 300 album covers that we can't do anything with. So I'm like, okay, how are we going to do this? Okay, I got an idea. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to repurpose old album covers. And we're going to call it That Old Rugged Cover. We're going to take albums from the Trash American Style dollar bin and the Trash American Style free bin, such as the Berry Sisters. We're going to take this Berry Sisters record, or we're going to take, I don't know, whatever this used to be, but we're going to take each one of these covers. We're going to slice them open, fold them so they're inside out, stick them on the press, you put the great big glob of goo on the back of it, you silk screen one side, throw away the bit that's got the glob of shit all over it, and then repeat the process. And so you'll end up with a whole bunch of fronts, and you'll end up with a whole bunch of backs. Stick them in the bag with the record and with the insert, and voila, you got a product. I thought it was pretty cool myself. I kind of liked the idea. I thought it was really neat. We used all different sort of color combinations of ink. I thought it looked pretty neat. I liked it. I liked the concept. My first mistake, or my biggest mistake, was on the back when I laid out the art using a press photo in a typewritten bunch of text. I meant to put a big disclaimer on the back saying that old rugged cover edition of 300 and have each one numbered. And I think that if it actually said that old rugged cover, it would have made a lot more sense as to why you've got these cardboard things with all the rough cuts and, you know, the sort of distressed look. It would have tied the whole concept together. But, you know, as I mentioned before, deadlines, in a hurry, wanted to get it done. I completely neglected to remake the art so that it said the old rugged cover. So it didn't, conceptually, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. I know that when I sent the 300 copies, or however many I sent to Jeff, I forget. When I sent Jeff his share, I think these days, in the internet age, you'd call it negative feedback. Jeff Clayton was not exactly 100% thrilled with the old rugged cover, especially without any explanation, because he'd sent me 300 beautiful white covers. He didn't censor me, you know, he didn't cast me out into the wilderness, he didn't, you know, disown me or anything like that, but the displeasure was there. I felt pretty bad about it. The irony is, a lot of people actually like this. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about the old rugged cover. And, you know, as they say in the biz, it is what it is. That's the way it came out. The savage irony is that the next project that the kid who worked for me did was an album cover for another North Carolina band called Geezer Lake. Really fine band from North Carolina. Geezer Lake did an album called Feet in Mud, and this guy did the album covers for that one. And by then, he had mastered the art. So the Geezer Lake album was a beautiful, perfect, fresh, clean, white jacket with no goo on the back. Just saying. Sometimes, as you know, when you're a pioneer, you get scalped. So there was a little bit of scalping involved in that. But we got it done. We got it done. We got the 700 on black. We got the 300 on purple. And actually, in a lot of ways, at the end of the day, Jeff Clayton, as he always does, he got his revenge. Clayton got his revenge. Oh, yes. Yes. Don't let anybody think that Jeff Clayton didn't get the last laugh on this one. I'm going to tell you why and how after I water up a bit here. Oh yes, as we all know, the karmic wheel turns. And sometimes the karmic wheel turns very, very quickly. Sometimes that karmic wheel needs only one revolution per minute in order to crush the karmic imbalance. Oh, it can be brutal, baby. It can be brutal. It can be rough. And I'm going to tell you how it worked. When we were doing this, I mentioned earlier that Zuma was doing vinyl and CD in Europe, and there was a CD in the US, but there's no provision for vinyl in the US. There was also no provision for cassettes in the US. Now, at this time, cassette cassettes were still pretty popular, but they were, the curve was slowly going down. But Clayton wanted to do Eat More Possum on cassette. And I was a little bit dubious, but he said, don't worry, they'll sell big in the South especially. They'll do pretty good. If you make 500 of them, I think you'll be able to sell them. And I was like, all right, cassettes. We'll do 1,000 LP, we'll do cassettes. And so, I had never done an actual factory-made cassette before. This is like more new territory for me. In order to make the Eat More Possum cassette, I had to create the artwork from scratch. And since none of the source artwork was available, what I had to do was take one of the CD inserts, the 5x5 CD insert, lay it out on a template so that it literally folded over like a cassette J card. In order to get the ANTiSEEN logo that you see on the spine, I had to take an ANTiSEEN record that had a logo on it, photocopy the logo onto a piece of transparent plastic with my photocopier, cut it out, scotch tape it to the CD insert that was laid out on the template, and then take all the other elements and type them out with a typewriter and cut and paste and lay it out. So if you've got the factory-made version of Eat More Possum, what you're looking at is literally a factory-made insert using an old CD insert and all the parts that came in the CD. So I sent this off to the facility. We had 500 copies made. I put them out for sale, and I sold one. And then a little while later, I sold another one. I think I might have sold a third one a couple years later. I think. Not too sure. But yeah, I had 500 of these cassettes. And guess what? Check it out. Look at this. Look at this. Y'all ever want to know what a whole bunch of ANTiSEEN Eat More Possums cassettes looks like? Check it out, baby. There they are. How many do you want? How many do you want? You want Eat More Possum cassettes? Baby, I got them. They're here. You want them? You're welcome to buy them. So yeah, the karmic wheel turns. The karma is a biatch. It's a bitch. I fucked up the silkscreen cover. I admit it. Mea culpa. I am an honest man. I admit that I fucked up. And I paid the price. These are available, of course, directly from me. If you want to buy one or you want to buy a couple hundred, no worries. I suppose the lesson that we ought to learn from that at the end of the day is don't fuck with Jeff Clayton. Just don't do it. Don't even do it inadvertently. Just don't do it. Ugh. I'm not done yet. I got to recover from the trauma for a second. Story's not over. There's still a couple of interesting variants on the Eat More Possum as it was released by little old me, TPOS. But before we talk about the variants, I want to talk about something I addressed last time, which is a really cool soundbite on Eat More Possum, the intro, side 1, track 1, as delivered by the great Cosmic Commander of Wrestling. That soundbite was recorded live at a gig at a venue called Maxwell's in Hoboken, New Jersey on November 1st, 1992. How do I know? I was there. Just to show you how exciting that time period was, October 29th, I went to go see Ace Frehley play live in Poughkeepsie. On the 30th, I went to see Ron Wood play live in New Haven, Connecticut. Halloween night, I saw the Melvins live at Bard College in New York State. And then November 1st, I saw ANTiSEEN at Maxwell's in Hoboken. That's 4 nights in a row of killer rock and roll on a number of different levels. That's what the early 90s were like. You wouldn't call Ace Frehley or Ron Wood, alternative rock or cutting edge, but, there was just so much happening at the time. 4 nights in a row. So the 4th night in a row of my rock and roll fantasy was driving to Maxwell's in Hoboken to see ANTiSEEN play. It was the last night of tour, and the Cosmic Commander of Wrestling was there doing his thing. He did the intro. It wasn't a giant-sized crowd. There was a pretty good number of people there. And I think the problem was everybody got it. Like, everybody was totally keyed in to ANTiSEEN, and they understood the Cosmic Commander's shtick. A bunch of normal people would have rioted. But as it was, the Cosmic Commander, he got a lot of love from the crowd that night. ANTiSEEN played a set that consisted of, I missed the first 2 songs because we got there a little bit late. I got there actually in the middle of Cosmo's spiel, and when I ran my tape recorder, I missed that, and I missed the first 2 songs of the set. But the ANTiSEEN set that night consisted of I've Aged 20 Years in 5, White Trash Bitch, Fornication, We Got This Far Without You, which Jeff Clayton interviewed as the sub-poop single, a really slow, heavy version of Queen City Stomp, Violence Now, We Will Not Remember You, Haunted House, Fuck All Y'all, and a long Mayhem Destructo version of Mill Workin' Man, which ended with Jeff Clayton, I'm not joking, kids, doing a somersault off of one of the monitors into the drum kit. He blew up a scrub board after he set it on fire. And I got to tell you, kids, if you've never been to Maxwell's, Maxwell's is a tiny little place. Maxwell's about the size of your living room. So you've got explosions, you got destruction, you got flames, you've got, it was a beautiful somersault, like a cross body block into the drum kit in this tiny little room. And perfect finale for the last show of ANTiSEEN's tour of November of 1992. It was great. Afterwards, they were loading out, and I went back to say, hey, maybe hang out a little bit, but Tom O'Keefe was huddled in conference with the band. He's like, look, man, the club is really pissed off about that monitor. I don't think we're going to get paid tonight, and in fact, I think we better leave right now before they try to make us pay for that thing. And they were like, well, Malcolm, it'd be great to hang out with you, but we got to go. And so they loaded up, if they weren't already, fast, and they split. Last night of tour, straight back to Charlotte from Maxwell's. And Maxwell's is directly across the river from New York City. So if you want to Google map it, you'll see the drive they made. I'm pretty sure they didn't have to pay for that monitor. Excuse me for a second. But yeah, that's the story behind the Cosmic Commander intro on Eat More Possum. Great, typical night seeing ANTiSEEN live in the early 90s. Now, we've talked about record, we've talked about cassette. There's the fabled blue cover promo CD that's out there. This is something that I made in hopes to get airplay. I ended up with I don't know, 10 copies or so of the Safe House Zuma CD as it came out in the States. And, I figured I'd send out some promos. So I took a regular Eat More Possum insert, used the reverse graphics feature on my, I don't even remember how I made this, but I made a negative of it, stuck a promo logo on it, and made a few, and, gave one to the Danbury College radio station. I might have sent a couple out also. Kept a couple for myself. This is one of them. So even though the back still says Safe House and Zuma, this is actually a TPOS product that I used in an attempt to get some airplay for Eat More Possum. Was it successful? I don't know. Did I do it? Yes. So collectors, take note. The other format, which has gotten a lot of ink over the years, is, of course, the 8-track. Yes, the fabled Eat More Possum 8-track. The only format that's almost as cool as vinyl is the 8-track. This ties in also with what I was talking about earlier, how the record industry in the 90s was doing their best to stamp out vinyl. One of the key cheap tricks, if you will, to do that was to load CDs with bonus cuts. The vinyl didn't have bonus cuts typically. The CDs always had bonus cuts. It was just a cheap ploy to get you to buy an overpriced CD. So I thought, you know what, screw that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But what I do like is 8-tracks. I love 8-tracks. So I'm going to release 8-tracks on my label, and I'm going to put bonus cuts on these 8-tracks. Each 8-track I do is going to have exclusive material that you can't get on any other format except 8-track. How do you like that? If you want to hear the incredible live 1991 version of Little Sister, you got to play the 8-track. So that's what it is. The 8-track's got the bonus cut. And it's an 8-track, and 8-tracks are cool. First one I did was an 8-track of the live WXCI broadcast, aka ANTiSEEN Conquers the North. We got the Eat More Possum. It's here. They've pretty much always been in print. Supplies are extremely fickle because I have to repurpose old 8-tracks to make these. So it's not a reliable supply. Making them is a pain in the goddamn ass. But in theory, they're still in print. They've still always been in print. Sometimes you'll see these things going on eBay or Discogs for large sums of money. Don't do it. Don't pay any more than you would if you get them directly from me or you get them directly from Jeff Clayton, because I send him copies, periodically. Get them from him, get them from me. Don't pay exorbitant amounts of money because they're still in print, they're still available, and you don't need to be gouged. It just isn't necessary. So in continuing our mad mania for releasing stuff because we love it, I was thinking, well, what's a format that hasn't been done yet? What is a format that Eat More Possum has not appeared on yet? All right, we've done record, we've done tape, done CD, we've done 8-track. What's left? I'll tell you what's left. There is one. There is a format left that hasn't been done. It's contained in this mysterious small white box. No, it's the size of a CD, but it's not a CD. No, we have yet to do Eat More Possum on a reel-to-reel tape. This reel is empty. At some point in the foreseeable future, it's going to be full of tape. And on the tape is going to be Eat More Possum. I'm still brainstorming on exactly what the extra material is going to be. But if y'all ever needed incentive to go out and get yourself a reel-to-reel player, you got it right here. This is going to be on market fairly soon. And it will be available through Jeff Clayton and ANTiSEEN.com and myself sooner than you might think. Really, honest, I swear. So reel-to-reel. Reel-to-reel. I'm going to address one more variant. Actually, two more variants on Eat More Possum. The first one is, of course, as happens often, the test pressing. Test pressings have white labels, and I've stickered them with the sticker I showed you earlier that Jason Wood stuck to all the album covers. So the test pressings look like this. I think there's 5 of these. Industry standard was 5 copies. And also, as mentioned, no matter how hard you try, there's always an offset. There's always leftover covers or leftover records or whatever. Right around the ANTiSEEN 30th anniversary show, I was going through the vaults and I came across some records without covers. And I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do with these records without covers? There were 26 of them. 26 records I had without covers. So I was like, well, I'm going to the 30th anniversary show. I've got these records. How about if I make a cover that's in keeping with what Eat More Possum was supposed to look like, but I'll just use printed inserts. So that's what I did. I made inserts, printed, front and back, numbered them 1 through 26, and went to the 30th anniversary show, and by the good graces of Jeff and the band, I sold them there. I sold them for $10 each. I didn't want to be that guy there with, you know, really expensive, overpriced tchotchkes. So $10 a throw, sold them all that night, and some people got a really cool souvenir of many of the 30th anniversary show. And of course, while I was going through the vault, putting today's presentation together, guess what I found? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more Eat More Possum records without covers. For fuck's sake, man. 6. 3 of them are on purple. No, actually 4 of them are on purple. I don't know how many are on purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. God. 5 on purple and 1 on black. Why I have 5 extra copies on purple and 1 on black, I don't know. Why I didn't find them when I was making the 30th anniversary cover, I don't know. But I got 6 extra records. I got to figure out something to do with them. I promise you I will. But right now my brain hurts too much to think about it. To really just I just don't want to go there right now. You know, putting out records is hell, man. It's hell. And that, my friends, as far as I can tell, is almost the end of today's broadcast. But I've got one thing I do want to mention. Maybe a couple of things I want to mention. A couple of little news items we got here. Let's see if I can find my visuals. I always make a great big mess when I do these things because I get really carried away and excited. Well, whatever. I'll find the visual in a second. Number 1, be sure to tune in to the ANTiSEEN Facebook page tomorrow at 5 p.m. because Mad Brother Ward is going live. And he's got some really cool stuff cooked up for you. If you've ever read his blogs on the Queen City Stomp blog spot, you know that he's got a tale to tell, and it's going to be a good tale. So check it out tomorrow at 5, Mad Brother Ward. Tuesday at 5, the unimpeachable president for life, Jeff Clayton, is going to go live and will no doubt have his own perspective and his own take on the era of the band that I just talked about. And it's going to be good, because it always is. I'm going to be back next Sunday with the story of G.G. Allin and the Carolina Shit Kickers, which I actually got the visual right here. This record right here, G.G. Allin and the Carolina Shit Kickers. And let me get my monitor back here so I can make sure I'm still on, because the internet's very fickle and I don't trust it in the slightest bit. I want to make sure that I'm still on and that you people still hear me. Is it happening? Yeah, it's happening. Okay. So yeah, that's next week. And then I want everybody to pay close attention to this. I want you to notice this. This is a website address. That is tomcat2.bandcamp.com. This is the Bandcamp page for a guy named Tom Hughes. If you don't know Tom, I'll just explain in a nutshell that Tom, guitar player for Hell Stomper, Lookout Mountain Daredevils, Tomcat Torpedo Band. Hell of a guitar player, hell of a dude. He departed the planet recently. We're not very happy about that. In fact, we're all quite sad about that, because Tom was a top shelf guy, man. Not only a dude who had an absolute command of rock and roll, but a dude who had absolute command on life and how to live it. He was one of the good guys. And he was good. So, this is his Bandcamp page. What I recommend that you do is go to it. He's got a solo album right there, posted on Bandcamp. Buy it. It's only $7. It kicks ass. It boogies. It rocks. It rolls. You need to hear it. It would also be very cool if you bought a copy of the album, because the money will go directly into his account, which I think is a pretty safe bet that his family is going to get it. So you need the music. They could probably use the support and do it for Tom, because his music was meant to be heard. And it's so good that you should hear it. So that's that, okay? No more plugs, just that one. Other than to have me thank you for listening. Don't forget the upcoming broadcasts tomorrow at 5, Tuesday at 5, and then next Sunday at 5. That's 555 here on the ANTiSEEN Facebook page. And, yeah. I hope to be back in about 167 hours. In the meantime, I hope that you walk through the world doing it the ANTiSEEN way, which is head up, heels down, and face front. Until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.